Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I'm back with part 3 of my 10 cards, or rather 15 cards, one kit, using the Simon Says stamp July 2018 card kit. So if you haven't seen the first 2 videos, please go back and check those out. Cards 1 through 5 I created using just the stamp set. 6 through 10 I created using some of the stickers. And now here 11 through 15 I'm going to create using some of the pattern paper. So jumping here into card number 11, I really liked these pattern papers that had the overhead view. So I've taken this beach view and trimmed it down to 4 by 5 1/4. Here I've got a stripe of some Poppy MFT cardstock, and I'm placing that down across the front using 1/8 inch Scor-Tape. And then there you can see I cut apart the pattern paper that had some of the little signs on it and pulled out the one that says Beach Please. So here I'm going to back this on some scrap white cardstock, and I'm going to trim that out to leave just about a 1/16 of an inch around all 4 sides. So I'm going to go ahead and add some foam tape to the back of that, and that way I can pop this up to give a little bit of dimension to what is a pretty simple card. And I'll place that down, centering it over top of that red cardstock stripe. For the inside, I'm going to go ahead and stamp out the sentiment, "You Bring the Sunshine," and I'm using Fawn lobster ink for that. Next, I'll go ahead and add some ATG to the top of that panel, and I'll pop that on top of the card base. And this is one of the white card bases that came in the kit. I have to say I really liked these. I might be ordering some more of those. And that will complete card number 11. Card number 12 is going to be very similar to card number 11. As I mentioned, I liked the papers that had the overhead view the best, so I went ahead and trimmed off a piece of this red and white polka dot and then another piece of this beach towel paper, and I'm just using my ATG gun to attach the 2 there. Next, I'm going to trim that out using my MFT Blueprints 32 frame die. That's going to give me a panel that is 5 by 3 3/4 inches. And then I liked this holographic sticker that says "Sunshine on My Mind." So I'm placing that on some scrap white cardstock, and I'm going to trim that out. Here I'll take that panel and I'm going to place that on the top of my card base. And then I'm going to pop that sentiment up again using some foam tape. And I'll place that on the top of my card. For the inside, I had a little extra piece of that beach scene, so I'm going to place that along the bottom. And then I grabbed another one of those holographic stickers that reads "Yes Please," and I'm going to place that in the center. And that will complete card number 12. For card number 13, I am stamping out this fish image several times, and for the outline here, I'm using American Crafts Apricot Pigment ink. And then I wanted to use some of these sequins as scales for the fish. Since they were drawn on there, I thought it would be really fun to give those a little bit of sparkle. So what I'm doing is trimming all of these sequins in half so they'll be slightly smaller. And then for the base of the fish, I went ahead and colored over that using my Copic marker. This is YR04. I've grabbed some multi-matte medium and I'm going to use my quick stick tool to pick up these half circle sequins, and I'll place those down. I just put sort of a blob or a line of multi-matte medium across one section of the scales, filled that in, and then just sort of worked my way forward. And I tried to overlap them slightly to make it look a little bit more like an actual real fish scale. I ended up with probably between 8 and 10 different halves on each of the fish that I did. And here I'm going to give you a close-up look at that. So I went ahead and did 3 fish like that, and then I just colored in 2 more, and I fussy cut all 5 of them out. And here I'm using my Nuvo glue to attach this down on top of my panel. And I'm going to pull that panel away in a second here. So I trimmed this out. This was one of the backs of the papers, and it was just a solid blue, which I thought worked perfect for my aquarium. And I've laid out my fish. I'm going to attach all of those down, and then I'll trim off the excess from all of the borders there. Okay, so I trimmed off the edges, and now I've laid out my sentiment, wishing you a happy birthday. I'm going to stamp that using Fawn Deep Sea ink. And then I also took those 2 different bubble sections, and I'm just going to stamp those randomly to fill in the rest of the background. Here in a minute you'll see that I went back to my Cricut to create the inside of my card, and I wrote out this sentiment, "Hope it's fantastic." I used the font called Fudge and the pen that's in the color Blueberry. And here I'm going to show you one of the stamp sets that I have. Before I got my Cricut, I used to write out a lot of sentiments using this Milo's ABCs. It's a little more time consuming, but it works if you don't have a Cricut or you're not interested in learning how to use another machine like that. So you can do sort of your own type of sentiments that way. There you saw I went ahead and again used that apricot ink to stamp 3 more fish. Added some ATG gun to the back of that, and I'll place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 13. So for card number 14, I've again gone to my Cricut. I wanted to create some type of a margarita glass to go on the front of my card base, and I decided to make this into a shaker. So I found a cut that would work for this, and here I'm just layering all of the pieces together. I used Recollections cardstock, so I don't have names of colors for you, but these were picked up at Michael's. So I chose sort of an orangey yellow for the base of the glass, and then a lime green for the piece of fruit to hang off the edge there, and then of course white to create the pieces in between. And I'm attaching all of that using my Ranger Multi-Matte Medium. Now I have to create a back for my shaker because this obviously was not a shaker die, it's just something that I cut out. So I'm taking my pencil and trimming around this so that I know where to place my tape. And then I'm taking some Scor-Tape and I am trimming the Scor-Tape down to roughly 1/16 of an inch wide. And I'm gonna go along that pencil line, and since that was on the outside, I traced around the outside of my image, I'm gonna place that on just on the inside of where that pencil line is. And I'm just going around the portion that is, I'm sorry it's so hard to see because it's white on white, but I'm just going around the portion that is going to be the shaker window for the glass. So just where I'm gonna fill in with all of my sequins. I'm just slowly going around and adding that, like I said, on the inside of my pencil line. Once I've got that done, I'm gonna press that down really firmly, and here I'm checking to make sure that the tape is gonna fit inside the border of my glass, and it does. I'm adding in a few sequins here to fill up my glass. I thought this sequin mix was really pretty. And then I'm going to peel away the backing very carefully. Since this is such a thin line of Scor-Tape, I want to make sure I'm not covering any of it with those sequins. And I grabbed a scrap piece of acetate. I'm going to place that on top and press down really, really well with my bone folder to make sure I get a nice secure stick on that. And then you'll see in a second here, I forgot to take the tape off of that top section. So I'll peel that back. And this worked really well. Even though it was a very, very thin piece of Scor-Tape, it's such a strong adhesive that it's so far holding up really, really well for me. Okay, so once I'm happy with that placed down, I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to take that 1/16 of an inch of Scor-Tape and I'm going to run it right on top of where I had it before, and then I will go ahead and peel away the backing. And at this point I can go ahead then and place my glass on top of that second layer of Scor-Tape, and that's going to create my shaker window. So this doesn't, shake around a ton because I don't have foam tape in there, but it does give the look of a shaker, and they do move around slightly. Once I have that placed down, then I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and I will trim around to remove the excess white backing. So next I'm going to work on my sentiment. I went with Your One Cool Pineapple, and I'm stamping that again using my VersaFine Onyx black ink, and I'm just going to place that on some scrap white cardstock. I trimmed that down and I'm going to place it again on a scrap of this green cardstock, and this is Sour Apple. And I'll trim that out, leaving about a 1/16 of an inch edge around all four sides. I trimmed down this sort of tiki glass pattern paper to 4x5 1/4, and I'm attaching that to a persimmon card base. Here I've got my sentiment. I'm going to stick that down at an angle. And then I'm going to take my glass and I'm going to pop that up using some foam squares. And I'll go ahead and place that on the card front. For the inside, I found a washi tape that matched that lime green really well. It just has a white polka dot through it. And I'm going to trim off the excess there at the edge. And then I had an extra piece of this pink stripe from one of my previous cards that measures just about 1/4 inch. I added some Scor-Tape behind that. I'm going to place that across the green stripe right in the center. I'll go ahead and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 14. For card number 15, I decided to create sort of a swimming pool look, and I've grabbed the bikini die that came in one of the Simon Says stamp kits from last summer, and I've used some of the doll pink cardstock to trim that out. And then here I've got a piece of MFT's Orange Fizz cardstock, and I'm using a We Are Memory Keepers embossing folder on this. This is a really nice deep embossing folder, and I don't know the name of it, but I was able to find it on Amazon, and I will have that linked for you. I chose this one because I thought it looked somewhat like a raft. So I've trimmed this down to about 2.5 inches wide, and then I will go ahead and attach the bikini on top of it. I'm going to use another one of those cut apart sentiments. This one says Pool's Rule, and I'm placing that on some leftover limelight cardstock. So again, I'm going to trim that out, leaving about 1/16 inch edge on all 4 borders. And then here I've got this pool patterned paper. So I've just trimmed that to 4x5 1/4, and I'm attaching that on top of one of my blue card bases. And then I'll use some Nuvo glue to stick this bikini down on top of my raft. I went ahead and popped that up using some Scotch foam tape. Here I'm just working on my layout. So I'm going to go ahead and place down my sentiment first. And then I'll peel away the backing and place down that raft. I'm just going to leave one corner hanging off the edge there, and then I'll just trim that off with my scissors. For the inside, I went with the sentiment You Bring the Sunshine. And I wanted to try and match that pink on the front of the card. So I first stamped using Lawn Fawn's Peachy Keen ink, and then I felt like it needed to be a little bit brighter. So you'll see then I will bring in the American Crafts grapefruit ink and do 1 or 2 stamps of that just to sort of mix the two together and get a little bit of a brighter pink color. I'll go ahead then and attach that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 15. Here is a quick look back at the cards from today. You'll find additional photos as well as a full list of supplies at my blog post, linked in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.